Just weeks after passing a law to encourage film and television production within the city, San Francisco became the centre of a sharp con. The horror films have always been regarded by some as the unacceptable face of cinema. In fact, as far back as the 20s, people have claimed that watching horror movies can turn the normal law-abiding citizen violent, that after a steady diet of blood and gore, even nice Mr. Brown from next door can give up pigeon fancing and turn into a sex-crazed axe murderer. Well, campaigners fighting against video nasties have called for horror films to be removed from the corner shop. But despite the protests, horror remains one of the most popular types of film, particularly on video. In fact, research shows almost 1 in 5 videos rented in this country are horror films. So we went out to find out who actually watches these movies and what they get out of them.
The fact is that there is a great amount of the human experience that is outside consensus reality, that narrow spectrum of what we consider as reality. And it's not just the states of psychosis or, the murderer, but it's the state of the visionary, the state of the dreamer, the state of the person that's drunk, the person that's in love. There's a lot of states of human consciousness that are not rational. But our films tend to be about the rational side of life. Horror films do not. They tend to look at that other side of life.
Something blocking the door. Oh my God.
For me, it's almost like a shared dream. It's like waking up from a nightmare and saying, my God, I've got to tell that to somebody. One of the reasons that you're telling it to someone is to diffuse it, to spread it and so that it doesn't have a hold on you. So in a sense, my response to my films is exactly like my audience's.
Give us a push. You can push it up. Come on. That's it. Come on.
No, wait. No.
You can do it.
Oh, wait. Oh.
That make you jump mostly, isn't it? Where you're sitting down and you don't expect it, and all of a sudden just jumping all over the place. And I think that's what makes a good horror film, like good special effects, good acting, and the more jumps, the more you like it.
It has to be really dark in here. The curtains drawn and closed, and it has to be really dark and quiet, and
I don't
no
like,
laughing.
I don't like interruptions.
No interruptions.
I just like to watch it.
But that's the ultimate test, isn't it? Watching it by yourself late at night.
And whole continents will be cast adrift in an ocean of blood.
Identified very quickly a quite convoluted community. It's absolutely palpable. You can go out and find it, of people who don't necessarily know the extent of that, but they're passing on information one to the other. And the thing about horror that's interesting, I think, is that it's almost sort of the rarefied version of that. That it really needs to be watched with a group of people, and what's good about it is that you can scream and laugh together on the sofa and hug somebody and talk about it and whatever, and it's that sense of occasion that's important about it.
And one of the thrills about them is that there's someone else next door to you grabbing your hand, other people laughing in unison together, and there becomes a kind of group appreciation of the experience, a bit like, shall we say, a crowd of people on a Big Dipper. They all going woo, yelling together and hands up, and they all enjoy the thrills at the same time. And I suspect that that's another feature of this particular activity, is that it does make you feel good to be afraid and laughing, to be sharing emotions.
Yeah.
It's okay,
I've got a nice bloke next to you.
Don't do it!
Is it over yet?
Yes, you can look now.
When I see them getting scared, I think it's funny and I laugh, you know, just like watching them getting scared or whatever. But, you know, it's not funny frightening someone, but if it's a horror film and like the way she squirms and everything, I think it's really funny.
I think it's because most of the characters portrayed in horror movies are women screaming.
Yeah.
So women watching it sort of have a fear of that happening to them. I don't know, maybe it was more men screaming, it would be quite the opposite.
I like it when I see like a woman fighting back.
Oh yeah.
I get a thrill out of that.
If all the way through it's a bloke that's been trying to kill women, and at the end it's the women that get the blokes back, I think it's good, because then both sexes have had part of that scene, I think, of the film. I think it, you know, it makes a big difference too, because then you think, you know, oh God, it's the girl that's been done in again. That's not right, it's always the girl. But I think it's good when both sexes have had part of it and figuring it out.
I want my mother and friends again.
You what?
I take back every bit of energy I gave you. You're nothing. You're shit.
Anyone who's not seen a horror film for 20 or 30 years looking at a 1988 horror film is likely to be astonished, blown away, whatever. Also, they're likely to be a lot more frightened because they don't know the cliches. If I go and see the next Friday the 13th film, I will probably fall asleep because I know that, as Anne is the expert on the
they'll have sex,
what happens
then they
next.
get murdered,
Yeah,
and then
right.
they walk backwards into the wood. And
They now smoke marijuana before they're murdered as well. That's the next point of retribution.
Yeah. Remember the one where there was a mini trend where they would go to the toilet and get murdered?
Yeah, the Cheech and Chong hippie types.
That's right.
They smoked a joint, went to the toilet, and then got murdered.
there was a mini trend for severed heads in the toilet.
Yeah, that was
well.
interesting. Yeah, but anyway, apart from that, as I say, if, as you will just have noticed, once you pick up on the conventions, you can tell exactly what's going to happen next. If you go into any horror movie cold and you don't have these conventions to get you through, you'll be much more surprised and shocked by no matter how bad the effects are. I mean, the problem we have with people like Prince Charles or MPs talking about horror is that they tend to see one horror movie and are like astonished and appalled by it and go away and imagine that the effect is cumulative.
Most of them are all the same, really. You get a house with a lady, and she's all on her own in this big house, and she hears a noise. I mean, what woman in her right mind would go and investigate? I'll just get out of the house quickly.
That's it. I mean, they seem to have loads of courage, don't they? They go downstairs, they don't take anything with them.
The more you watch a particular film, like Love Story, you know what's going to happen. They're going to start kissing and cuddling. The more you watch horror films, next minute you know that when it's all quiet and you see a camera going towards a house or towards a door, you know that there's a scary bit coming up.
Just think in general that they tend to be cathartic. They tend to express in a safe and controlled way inner turmoils, inner rages, inner fears, in a way that is cathartic and diffuses real violence. I don't think that kids come out of the theater and think, who can I slash up?
Gets all the hate, resentment, and everything out of your system, like watching it on screen, seeing it happen to something that isn't real. And you sort of just lose yourself in a horror film. I do.
I would suggest that it's an extremely sane way of dealing with one's monsters from the id, that we all have a peripheral knowledge that this potential is within us. By confronting it openly, seeing these films, indulging these fantasies, it's a way of making them safe and sterile.
Kids of any age have a real inbuilt compulsion to confront and things that will not come to pass in their lives for many, many years, whether it's their own sexuality or it's death or it's violence or whatever, disease, separations. They want to know, and they want to come in contact with it, but in a safe way. It was safe, and going to the cinema is very safe.
This is just a dream. This isn't real. This is just a dream. He isn't real. He isn't real.
I've seen audiences coming out of it feeling better than when they went in. They don't come out all droopy and traumatized. They come out exhilarated. And I think part of that exhilaration is that they've gone through a situation that was terribly frightening, even terrifying, and yet at the end felt that they came out with some sort of triumph. That is, the character that they identified, and they don't identify with the victims. They identify with the central character that survives. That character confronted the most terrifying thing imaginable and survived, and sometimes prevailed.
Seeing these dreadful things happen makes you feel safer. It takes the possibility away that it might happen to you, although it's very near to you. It explores areas of your own fears and deals with them in a way that you can hopefully feel optimistic about.
You can't kill the boogeyman.
In the cinema, the atmosphere is much, much stronger. You can like really feel it. And at home, you're like so relaxed that it's like there's a barrier between you and the video film that you're watching.
I think I prefer to watch them indoors, just in case I do get too scared. I can switch it off and go out. Whereas in the cinema, it's all on a bigger screen, and you can sit there absolutely shit scared. You know?
Yeah.
And you can't turn it off. Whereas at home, you can. You know.
What is this shit? What the shit?
The fact that you can have a film in your house on cassette, you own it. It's yours. You can freeze frame it. You can make it go slow. You can make it go backwards. You can analyze it. This was absolutely unthinkable and unheard of in the 50s and 60s. And it really changes your relationship to film, one's understanding of film. It's inevitable. I mean, it must be accepted. It's there. It's here to stay. And I think it really has freed the moving image. It's really given it to the people, which is why I think repressive societies such as the one you have here like very much to control the image. You know, it makes perfect sense to me that censors go crazy over video and want to censor it much more than cinema, than film, because it represents freedom.
We'll use these. Give us the tools and we will do the job.
Number 5.
People have always told horror stories around the campfire before there was print. There's a real innate human need, I think, to toy with death, to think about it, to deal with those elements of human life. And it's been one of the most consistent genres of human art that there is. I mean, you know, trucker movies have come and gone, cowboy movies have come and gone. Horror films have been here since the beginning of cinema, and I think that will continue.